For years, it seems, I have been sort of conjuring Wayfarer project. In the 90s, I used my hands and feet a few times to make images. The idea of using other people to make marks for work started around 2014, when I outlined the hands of my friends to make stencils to work with. I made a few works with this method, but other ideas came along. It was during this time a friend said, "Why don't you use feet?" At first I didn't see it, but the thought remained. In 2019, I realized that the narratives that footprints could create had potentials for what I wanted to say. When we think of humanity, we can certainly envision an endless stream, a flow of relations stretching from the past to the present. Human movement, of having infinite iterations, is most well known by the act of walking. Ancient tribes walked across various straits from one continent to the next. Others wandered in vast deserts looking for signs of the heavens, or for paradise on earth, or simply for water. Still others walked to escape various forms of oppression, either natural or man-made, and it yet continues. The enormity of migration has also become one of the sources of expanding consciousness. In 2005, the Universal House of Justice of the Baha'i Faith wrote, "Millions of refugees fleeing from persecution have swept like tidal waves back and forth across the European, African, and Asiatic continents particularly. Amid the suffering such turmoil has caused, one perceives the progressive integration of the world's races and cultures as the citizenry of a single global homeland. As a result, people of every background have been exposed to cultures and norms of others about whom their forefathers knew little or nothing, exciting a search for meaning that cannot be evaded." Since then, the phenomenon of global homelessness has only increased. The refugee state that now affects hundreds of millions of people moves me to speak to the courage and the faith of people as they attempt to find some peace, some shelter somewhere to regroup from lives shattered by oppressive conditions. In addition, those whose ancestors were captured and enslaved, those whose native cultures were purposefully decimated and relocated, those who managed to survive mass genocides, those who sought asylum from various forms of tyranny, have all occupied my ruminations on existential homelessness. As we witness this particular alienation, its suffering resonates. We recognize a deeper connection, one not based on nationality, nor any of the temporal distinctions. In essence, we are all simply human beings living on this sphere together, spinning around the sun amidst infinite galaxies. In this sense, everyone is kin. Baha'u'llah put it this way in the late 1800s. The earth is but one country, and mankind its citizens. It is from these thoughts that Wayfarer Project emerged. To convert these ideas to art, I've used the image of the foot and shoe print. To print one's being on the earth is literally a stamp of existence. I was here. Footprints are also a record of human striving. In these two works, The Border and The Pilgrimage, the footprints were made with participation of the art students of the Rolette Middle Academy in Bradenton, Florida. It is a public charter school dedicated to diversity and leadership in the arts. These young actors helped me create the narratives I sought by lending their feet, their strides, to make footprints. In a sense, they've acted as surrogates for others who are actually out there on very difficult paths. The project created the opportunity to involve the students in thinking about the conditions that form the trajectories of life, as well as to experience that art can be made of anything. Other prints were made with soles of shoes from many cast-offs that I've been collecting. The other visual component in the project is the format. The pathways are made of long strips of translucent material. The finished works are made by layering the strips together, which have been painted by feet walking their lengths. In this composite-based technique, there are hundreds of footprints assembled together. This density evokes a gathering, but there is autonomy and diversity at the same time, as each footprint is unique, and each person's stride is different. The layering effect follows the process and operations of the abstract works I make, using marks or stripes as images. I simply supplanted those shapes with prints from human feet. Through this change, the works speak to a more social aspect of humanity. The pathways all start mounted to the ground and lift in arcs ascending upwards towards the sky. This structure imitates the arc of the human journey, of our evolution, from animal to spiritual, from ignorance to knowledge, and is the way of aspiration. The border is about compression. I chose to use only footprints in this one to elicit vulnerability in the content. The earth tones reflect an archetypal humanity. They start out on the pathway in a casual manner, but as they climb upward, the path gets more crowded. The formal language of the increasing compression expresses the human and political condition. At the very top, people are jammed up at the border they cannot pass. Red tape holds them back from going into the promised land. This piece represents the struggle for existence. In the pilgrimage, the opposite happens. A kind of celebratory atmosphere pervades the procession of brightly colored foot and shoe prints. Having asked quite a few people what they thought about the goal of pilgrimage, there were so many different answers that finding one image to encompass them all was seemingly impossible. Several people said it's not about the goal, it's about the journey. I realized that it was not whether one attains through the journey or at the threshold of one's beloved, but that in either case, one dissolves. One's ego dissolves in reunion with the beloved, however, whenever it takes place. So I found a way to dissolve the prints as they ascended towards the top of the pathway. That these two works run side by side is intended, as I felt they have great complementarity. One is concerned with physical well-being, the other with the spiritual. One is struggle, the other is searching. One applies to worldly condition, the other to conditions within the heart. I don't offer them here as choices, as the old either-or scenario, but rather as a whole. Both paths are running within us simultaneously. WAYFARER project is related to the previous project, Crystal Knock, in which I used shards of broken glass to make images that gave the visual sensation of broken barriers of various kinds. Both projects explore my ongoing interest in an aesthetic that works with the infusion of light in matter. In WAYFARER project, the visual evidence of the human footprint indicates beings moving toward the endlessly evolving horizon of possibilities, searching for a better, more harmonious state of being, a state of peace and safety and love.